Hello folks, Shin Tiger Curl here, that dude in the straw hat, bringing you yet another part in my countdown to Pirate Warriors 3 Let's Play. Last time we looked at the seductive archaeologist Nico Robin, and now we look at probably the most flamboyant and out of control character that the Straw Hats have to offer. Their shipwright, Frankie. So as before, all the information provided here comes directly from One Piece Wiki. If you're interested in the world of One Piece, just check out One Piece Wiki for all your needs for information on characters, places, items, legends, and what have you. So with that, let's get started. Frankie is the shipwright of the Straw Hat Pirates, a 36-year-old cyborg from Water 7. He was first introduced into the story as the leader of the Frankie family, a group of ship dismantlers. He was originally named Cutty Flam until he threw away his original name for his nickname per the request of Iceberg to hide his identity. Frankie and his followers were originally introduced as antagonists of the Water 7 arc against the Straw Hats until circumstances forced them to become allies. At the request of the Frankie family, Frankie decided to join the Straw Hats to fulfill his dream of creating and riding a ship capable of circumnavigating the world, the Thousand Sunny. He is the 8th member of the crew and 7th to join the crew overall. He is also the 2nd member to have been a former antagonist, the first being Nico Robin. He currently has a bounty of 44 million berries. He is originally from the South Blue, but left 32 years ago as a 4-year-old child. Personality. Frankie is a strong-willed, eccentric, free-spirited, and often has a blatant disregard for the rules. He does whatever he wants, whenever he wants, though that usually wants a little more than build powerful ships or protect those he cares about, and at times can appear very eccentric compared to most of the crew members because of his strange mannerisms and knack for building odd things, such as his Frankie centaur. Despite his strange and goofball behavior, Frankie has demonstrated himself to be amongst the most mature and reliable of the Straw Hats, making an effort to entertain younger crewmates while keeping serious matters in mind. Depending on the situation and the people he's dealing with, Frankie can be quite an altruist, as he's quick to defend other people and take action if his friends are harmed. He also holds the belief that no matter what a person is like, they should never be prejudiced or exterminated simply because of who they are. This often causes him to befriend and defend the wrongfully feared and persecuted. Because of his unbiased and protective attitude, he is quick in making friends and allies with the most unlikely of individuals, such as the street thugs and pirates. He is seen as a bigger brother figure and is admired by many of his efforts to protect, and is admired for his many efforts to protect them, such as Nico Robin and the Frankie family. Monkey D. Luffy and Frankie share some similar personality traits, with the exception of fighting needlessly, and both grew to respect each other during the events of the Inez Lobby arc, despite the dispute the two had during the Water 7 arc. It has been shown that Frankie's personality can alter somewhat depending on the beverage in his system. Frankie is also very stubborn, as proven when Iceberg told him to leave Water 7 and he absolutely refused to do so, even though him staying would compromise the location of Pluton's blueprints. Another of his habits is to refer to the current week for exclamation, as in, "Of course I'm strong, and I've been especially this strong all week," or "I've been like this all week." He has a running gag of unintentionally linked to perverted things due to a combination of his clothes, strange personality, and the situations he gets himself into. He takes it as a compliment when someone calls him a pervert. In addition, Frankie has a habit of using the word hentai, meaning pervert, in place of others. For example, when on Karakuri Island during the Straw Hat separation serial, instead of using the word tensai, meaning genius, he would use the word hentai, to then quickly correct himself. His lack of fashion sense seems to stem from the fact that his creativity leans toward crafts and mechanics, which would explain his style of clothing, which usually consists of nothing more than his trademark Speedo, a large gold chain around his neck, and a shirt concealing his rather bulky upper body build. Another running gag of the series is that Frankie is extremely compassionate when he overhears what he considers a touching story or a moment, causing him to cry uncontrollably. While Frankie will often admit to being emotionally touched, he believes himself too proud to show his overflowing tears to anyone, vehemently denying his weeping by hiding his face and calling everyone around him idiots for seeing him so vulnerable. Usually his emotional state will culminate in pulling out a guitar out of nowhere and requesting everyone to listen to a song he just wrote about the story that had just touched him. Another running gag is that the thought of hanging on to money for more than a day to be atrocious. Soon after he realized that he had 100 million left over from the lot he stole from Usopp, he proceeded to grab the cash and buy everyone in the bar drinks. This trait seems to have rubbed off on the rest of the Franky family, as they are all incapable of holding on to any money for long periods of time. Franky usually calls people by nicknames rather than their actual names, as he calls Luffy Straw Hat when he first joined, but after the 2-year separation, he calls everyone by their names and does not use nicknames. Franky's most recognizable trait would be his catchphrase, Super. When he says it, he typically strikes his signature pose. He leans to one side and bends the knee on the same side. The other leg is straight and goes in the opposite direction. He throws his head back. His arms go straight over his head and locked together, twist wrist to wrist. The two separate star tattoos push together to make one star. Most of the time, there's a glow or explosion along with it, just as an effect. Another significant trait is the inclusion of the word yosh into his speech. Since undergoing modifications, he's become the center of attention for Luffy, Chopper, and Usopp. As a result, he tends to act or talk like a robot at times, much to their amusement. Despite of his enjoyment of adding power to his arsenal and building weapons at high firepower, he does not enjoy the idea of eating a devil fruit, even if it was a Logia fruit, as he preferred to be able to swim. As evidenced in the Punk Hazard arc, Franky seems to handle children very well. As soon as he enters the playroom with his comrades, the children, most notably the boys, immediately took notice. Franky was forthright in displaying his many robotic capabilities, including his ability to change hairstyles by pressing his nose. Children even imitate his comedic antics, performing a super pose along with himself, Sanji, and Chopper. Abilities and powers. As a member of the Straw Hat Pirates, Franky is a competent crewmate as well as a valuable asset to the crew. Being their official shipwright, Franky is in charge of maintaining the Thousand Sunny's condition, along with the other vehicles, instruments, and/or weapons that the Straw Hats may employ. He is also an accomplished surgeon, as he was able to perform an operation on himself twice, despite the fact that he doesn't specialize in the field. He was even able to do this when he was close to death. Physical abilities. In terms of raw physical power, Franky can be easily counted as one of the stronger members of the crew. His years of being a dismantler as well as a bounty hunter prior to piracy seems to have contributed greatly to his formidable strength. Even running low on cola, he exhibits enough strength to overwhelm a charging, fully grown elephant, stopping it in its tracks before dragging it around by the trunk like it was a rag doll. When he first confronted by CP9 members in Water 7, Franky was shown to be strong enough to almost break through Blue Nose Tekai and quickly overpower him in terms of strength. Franky was even able to briefly fight on par with Luffy during their initial confrontation before their fight was interrupted by the Galilei Company workers. In addition to his strength, Franky also displays considerable skill at whatever item he lays his hands on, be it in or out of combat, i.e. he was seen effectively wielding, and with considerable dexterity, a large pair of makeshift nunchucks against Taranran. Even without his cyborg functions, Franky's fighting abilities are more than enough to allow him to fight against even trained assassins. The fact that he could defeat Fukuro, a member of CP9 on his own, is a testament to his prowess. His fighting style appears to revolve around boxing, but he doesn't hesitate to fight dirty if needed. He seems to have been born with great hearing, as he could hear dwarves trying to open the Smile Factory door from a fairly long distance while being backslammed by Senior Pink. Construction and engineering expertise. In addition to his cyborg-enhanced body, Franky is also a first-rate shipwright and carpenter from working under Tom. Even his years of dismantling have not affected his carpentry skills in any way. Perhaps the best proof of this is when he was able to finish the construction of the Thousand Sunny with the aid of Iceberg and the remaining Galileo foremen under a short period of time. His intellect also allowed him to grasp the concepts of the light lasers that only Dr. Vegapunk was able to create. Having once held onto the blueprints of the Pluton before he incinerated them, Frankie was the only person with the potential of recreating the fearsome ancient weapon of mass destruction before the knowledge was lost forever. A genius in his own right, he developed a cannon-like mechanism that accumulates air rapidly within the confined space right before releasing it as a compressed air-based projectile, powerful enough to bring down large establishments as well as provide a superb means of propulsion, which serves as the template that gave birth to the creation of his Kudo vent functions. He designed the Thousand Sunny himself, featuring several unique functions, like the Kuda Burst and the Soldier Dock system. He has actually built an entire bridge over a large gap and even put in small details such as carved handrails in an extraordinarily small amount of time, though he wanted to have an extra 30 seconds since he wasn't satisfied with the finish. He can also build stairs suspended in mid-air, and while they can support human weight, they don't stand for long. He calls this maneuver Frankie Skywalk, and was used during his fight with Oars and Thriller Bark. Furthermore, he sealed Caribou in a barrel and made it so even with his devil fruit powers, he couldn't escape. Cyborg Body. Frankie is a human with artificial parts, commonly known as a cyborg. His front is heavily armored and insensitive to most attacks, while his back, where he could not reach, remains very vulnerable. His body is equipped with a wide variety of weapons, including rockets, an extendable right arm, the ability to breathe powerful flames, as well as being able to release powerful blasts of air from multiple parts of his body. His stomach contains a small refrigerator-like compartment that can be used to hold up to 3 bottles of cola to fuel him and his attacks. His personality is also affected by the type of beverage that is stored in this little refrigerator. He can use large amounts of cola in an instant to launch powerful bursts of air from his arms, utilizing these blasts for techniques such as the devastating Kudo Vent. Battle Frankie 636 Cyborg Tactics. These modifications have granted him a vast amount of strength, so much in fact that he was able to successfully overpower CP9 members Nero and Fukuro. His back, however, is still wholly flesh and blood, and was therefore his greatest weakness, since Frankie did the modifications himself and could not reach his back. Even without his modifications, his back is dense enough to endure multiple pistol shots or a run kick from an experienced Rikushiki user. Additionally, despite having most of his anatomy reinforced with solid steel, Frankie's cyborg body is buoyant enough to allow him to stay afloat on the surface of deep water. It was seen that Frankie is also an excellent swimmer, and was so even before he became a cyborg, a fact that made apparent by his ability to swim faster than the Sea Kings that he frequently tried to slay in his series of battle Frankies during his childhood. Using his Frankie butterfly, he even managed to swim up the waterfalls of Inez Lobby. Frankie's left arm is primarily used as a gun, a multi-barreled gun that can pop out of his wrist. Any of his fingers can fire bullets, and turning his hand aside, he can reveal a cannon to use his arm that he uses his left hand as a targeting device. Frankie's right hand is an iron fist beneath a more normal-looking cover, and the hand has a chain that allows him to make attacks from a distance. Some common attacks include strong right. Frankie launches his right fist forward and can reel it back with a chain, similar to Luffy's Gum Gum pistol, and Kudo Vent. Frankie connects his arms to a T-shaped pipe and sends a powerful blast of concentrated air out that can destroy entire building complexes. The Kudo Vent is his most powerful attack, which incidentally uses up the most cola. Frankie also has the power to turn into a centaur-like form with an extra set of legs strangely extending forward from his pelvis. Despite his pride in it, it seems to do relatively little for his combat abilities, save for using his forelegs to trap enemy limbs, leaving them completely at his mercy for his attacks. It is shown during Frankie's fight with Fukuro that depending on what kind of drink Frankie has, it can change his hairstyle and attitude when Chopper accidentally hands him veggie juice and tea. It also shows that Frankie's strength is many times greater when he has more bottles of cola in his stomach fridge and he needs it as a fuel for certain attacks. His hair acts as a kind of meter to the amount of cola in his stomach, being tall if he is full and sagging if it's empty. Frankie's stomach compartment can hold up to 3 bottles or 6 liters of cola. BF-37 Armored Me. After 2 years, Frankie has drastically modified his body and become larger and more optimal in appearance and function, respectively. The true potential and abilities of his new Battle Frankie model have yet to be showcased. However, but it can be inferred that he is on the absolute cutting edge technology-wise, since nearly all the futuristic and technological aspects of the Marines and the world as a whole, i.e. the pacifista and the assimilation of devil fruits into weapons, stem from Dr. Vegapunk's genius, and it was using his laboratory, notes, and research that Frankie upgraded himself with. It was also worth noting that Frankie's original transformation into BF-36 was instigated as a quasi-surgical operation of necessity to save his life. It is assumed it was accomplished with some modicum haste from a medical standpoint, since he suffered from massive external and internal injuries, whereas the process to become BF-37 was a 2-year-long planned process done with highly advanced machinery in a fully stocked, albeit abandoned, scientific laboratory on his pre-existing cyborg body. So Frankie's own experience, being one beforehand, was likely factored in when customizing the schematics and functions, as well as understanding whatever information Vegapunk left behind. Frankie even went the extra mile with his modifications, adding such utility functions like his Frankie nipple lights, and nonsense functions like his pop-out hair function. With all this in mind, post-time skip Frankie is truly a force to be reckoned with. The weapons that Frankie has on display so far in the time skip are noticeably more offensive and destructive than his BF-36 weapons. So far, Frankie has revealed explosive missiles housed in his larger shoulders and a modified Kudo vent known as the Frankie Radical Beam that fires a powerful explosive laser beam instead of air, along with other powerful weaponry. He also features some of the BF-36 weapons, except stronger, which include his strong flame breath and the ability to shoot bullets from his hand. The fact that he was able to have laser beams in his arsenal, despite the fact that he is said that only Vegapunk was only able to create them, further proves Frankie's engineering mastery. His engineering skills also extend to anatomy, as he modified himself into a cyborg and was able to understand Vegapunk's notes on animal modification and his pacifista project. He is still fueled by Cobra, and now has enough capacity to endure a prolonged fight with Senor Pink, Dellinger, Machiavis, and the Marines led by Bastille that were stationed at Dressrosa before needing to fall back on his reserve cola. As with his previous body, Frankie cannot reach his back, and therefore it is left unmodified. BF-38 Frankie Shogun. The Frankie Shogun is a giant robot modeled after its name, a Shogun, and is a one-person weapon/vehicle. Frankie himself is able to pilot it from inside of a control room in the chest and can operate from there. It is equipped with a giant marauder sword named Franken. However, because he's rather inept at using a sword, the attacks he uses seemingly are ineffective, and sometimes appears most of his projectile armaments are purely from Frankie himself. Frankie can also use his giant fist to deliver powerful punches, and also slam his heavy body into his opponents to crush them. At first, the Shogun seems mostly useless, as many of his attacks came from Frankie himself. However, it wasn't until his battle against Baby 5 and Buffalo that its strength was fully shown. It's been shown to possess both powerful weaponry and to be very resilient from damage, as it was able to take a point-blank missile attack from Baby 5 that only managed to knock him over without doing any damage. His robot is also capable of launching an attack similar to both his Kudo Vent and Frankie Radical Beam, known as his General Cannon, which fires a large blast of compressed air at his opponent or opponents. Frankie compares the power of this attack to the Thousand Sunny's Gowon cannon. The robot can also provide protection against any outside agents, as Frankie used it to stand in the middle of the huge cloud of Caesar Clown's H2S gas completely unaffected. Weapons. Although Frankie seldom is seen carrying weapons, owing to the fact that he stores several within his own body, he has been shown to wield tools and implements from time to time, most notably his carpentry tools, though at times he can be seen carrying conventional weapons that he seems to be able to wield proficiently. Such weapons include custom-built nunchucks and handheld cannons. And that is the end of Frankie's bio. Wow, a little over 20 minutes. A little lesser than Robin's, but still much longer than Chopper's. I'm sorry, little guy. So yeah, that was the video. If you like what you see, link, comment, subscribe below. Got any questions, comments, or just want to talk One Piece? Leave them below. I'll get back to all of you, I swear. Also, if you want to support the video, just give a super punch to that like button, or click on one of the advertisements around. They really do help out a lot. Or if you want to donate directly, the tip jar is up there, and just drop $1 in the bucket if you want. Tune in next time as we profile the last member of the Straw Hat Pirates, and by far the most bizarre, the man that my friend Dante Nickings calls Zombie Lenny Kravitz. That's right, I'm talking about the Soul King, Brook. So until next time, this has been Shin Tiger Curl, that dude in the straw hat, saying good night, and stay